Today, unlike every other My Summer Car YouTube video, I'm actually going to stay alive. Yep, you heard me right. I'm going to attempt to survive 50 days in My Summer Car Permadeath. And as if that wasn't enough, I'm also going to try and complete the entire storyline in those 50 days. Of course, these aren't real life days, these are in-game days. Each in-game day is around 2 hours of real life, so if you multiply 2 times 50, you get 1,000 hours. You get 100 hours. Is this possible, or will I succumb to the cruel, unforgiving, cutthroat nature of rural Finland? Well, let's find out. So, I started off by making my car dark green, and then I named myself. Our name is very important. It shows up on our bills, fines from the police, the rally timesheet, etc. We should probably choose a name that makes sense. Something like Jukka Kesali? Nah, instead I chose to be called Finnish Man. Finland 1976, Finnish was born. On the first day, I started out by doing the normal first day things. I set off in the tractor in search of food, car parts, and wheels. While I get started, let me tell you about how permadeath works. Basically, if you choose to play with permadeath turned off, you can die anytime you want and respawn outside the church. You pretty much have infinite lives. But in permadeath, that is not the case. Once you die, you do not get to respawn. Instead, the save game is instantly deleted and that's it. You can see why this will turn out to be a terrible, terrible idea. But I'm doing it anyways. After successfully getting food, car parts, and wheels, I made my way home where I worked on the car all through day 2. I also made a trip to the cottage to get the bucket to brew kill you. On day 3, I wired up the car, topped up the fluids, and to my surprise, it actually started on the first try. But as soon as I tried to drive it, it broke. The tire was flat. After that, I obtained the keys to the van for the first time, and on day 4, I sold some kill you. But that's when I encountered my second problem. The problem was this worthless piece of shit. This was Jokke, the local alcoholic. Well, I guess everybody in Finland is an alcoholic, but he's worse. He lives and breathes alcohol.
Who wants to drink kill you at 3 in the morning?
Oh boy, 3 a.m.
So, to make himself feel better for when he spends his children's college funds on illegal alcohol, he makes you drink some with him. And trust me, it gets bad. Not only that, he also deducts money for whenever you drink some from the pile. What an absolute idiot. I then had to risk my life driving to Fleetari's to order some new tires, and trust me when I say I will get my revenge on this man. I then took some food to grandma and finished off the day in true My Summer Car fashion, smoking and peeing in the shower. Alright. That all went by really fast, I know. I'll try to take it slower from here on out. So our current objective is to inspect the car, but a lack of functional tires is preventing us from doing that. So on Friday, day 5, I took the tractor to town. There, I delivered some adverts for Tamo to get a little bit of extra cash, and then I took my tires to Fleetari to get some new rubber on them. After that, I took the van to fill up the diesel jerry can, filled up the tractor, and ended Friday by chopping some firewood. On day 6, something very important happened. I got woken up at 2 a.m. by none other than Mr. Alcohol. Now you may be wondering, how is this important? It just seems annoying. Well, every time he calls you in the middle of the night, he wants you to take him home from the pub. And when you take him home from the pub, you get money. And when you get money, you get to upgrade the car. And when you upgrade the car, you can— long story short, he's going to give me money. And that is the only thing that matters. Especially when we're trying to complete the game in this short amount of time. So, I dragged my sleepy ass to the van, picked him up from the pub, and brought him to his house where he gave me 670 marks. Pretty good. Then, he knocked himself out of my door, which scared the ever-living shit out of me, as seen in this shake of the mouse. As any good neighbor would do, I dragged his body to his front door and left him there. A couple hours later, I delivered some firewood which made me 3,200 marks. I then picked up my new wheels from Fleetari, put them on the car, and admired just how ugly it was looking. I also ordered some new parts for the car and mailed the envelope at Tamo's. Then, I was feeling pretty bored, but I remembered, it's Saturday night. Do you know what that means? Dance Pavilion. This is where I encountered Man with Watch. I thought his watch was cool, so I kindly asked for it by punching him. After a bit of back and forth fighting, I finally knocked him out and took his watch. I then took his body, stuffed it into the back of my van, threw him over the bridge, and peed on him to assert dominance. After that, while driving home, I saw another man on the highway, so instead of helping him, I stopped to witness his death. I put him in my van, took him home, and slept with him. Wait. When I woke up, he was still here, so I took him on my boat to go on a little adventure, but his fat ass had other ideas. He was so heavy that he started making the boat turn on its own. This made it very difficult to do anything. We then made it to the cottage where I accidentally dropped his body in the water, and I couldn't reach him to pick him up, so I just left him there. On day 8, I got woken up again by Mr. Alcohol. This time, since the van wasn't in sight, I decided to take the Satsuma. Surprisingly, it went very well. I picked him up, dropped him off, and headed back home without any major issues. Later that day, I took the van, put the fish inside, and limped to Tamos with barely any gas to refuel. I then tried to cook the fish for grandma to get some extra money, but they all spoiled. This was very frustrating. Now, instead of getting more money, I was getting no money. Though, I didn't let that stop me from being productive on day 9. I got woken up again at 2 AM by Mr. Alcohol. This time, instead of complaining about stupid shit like the train, he told me that his wife is going to divorce him, likely because of his crippling alcohol addiction, and that she is going to move to Vasa and get herself a Finnswede man. When I dropped him off, he gave me a much needed 340 marks. I then went back to town, slept inside the back of my car, and went to get the car inspected for the first time by this lovely gentleman. After my car got its insides poked out, it was time to see if my car passed or not. Surprisingly, it did. After my success, I filled up my car and paid for my post order. But there was a problem. The exhaust pipe. The exhaust pipe was as long as the car itself and therefore could not fit in my car. I then put it sideways inside the doors, but eventually it fell out. After that, I just decided to hold it, because if you hold an object, then its collisions are temporarily disabled. When I got home, I installed the new exhaust kit, the twin carburetors, and the steel headers. I then tuned my car, and it's safe to say, it was very fast. This was great progress, as my objective was to now get the car ready for the rally race. On day 10, I got woken up by Mr. Alcohol yet again, so I went and picked him up, and that's when he told me he was going to place himself in front of a large moving object in an attempt to... Yeah, I hope he was joking about that. When I dropped him off, he gave me 200 marks. Not great, but not bad either. We'll take what we can get out here. Later that day, I put my photography skills to use and headed to the cottage where I put the fish trap in the water. I then ordered a ratchet set and some new rims for the car, took the van, put the kill you bucket inside, and mailed the envelope at Tamos. Then, I flipped the van. After a bit of struggle, I managed to use my superhuman strength to flip it over with my 2 bare hands. I then went to the landfill, filled up some kill you bottles, and sold some kill you. Of course, only after I peed in Yoke's mouth, which he didn't seem to care about. After getting very drunk and getting ripped off many times, I safely made my way home. Somehow. On day 11, I went to Uncle's house to check for the van, but it wasn't there. Instead, I found Uncle sitting shirtless in front of his house smoking and drinking. He told me that he was speeding and lost his driver's license. Because he has no driver's license, he told me that I can start driving the shit tanker if I wanted to earn some extra money. If you know anything about me, there's nothing I love more than easy money. So, I took the truck keys, flipped Uncle off, and took the moped to town to pick up what was now my very own van. I then filled it up with some very illegal tax-free diesel, and bought some groceries. And by groceries, I mean sausage. I was woken up again at 2 AM by Mr. Alcohol. I was seriously debating whether I should keep picking up this drunk bum from the pub, mainly because he wouldn't get in my car. Just get in the fucking car already. Waking up at this hour was an inconvenience, but I knew I had to do anything I could to get myself some money as fast as possible. But when I picked him up, he threw me a curveball and I never saw it coming. He said, "You are a wise boy. I need to tell you something. You know, nobody knows I am a very rich man, a millionaire. My wife did not know that she had a winning lottery ticket. I took it and got the money myself. 5 million marks. I have the money in a hidden suitcase, but I can't use the money because my wife would get suspicious. She would leave me if she had that money. I need to act like I always do. I am the richest drunk bum there is. At least my wife stays with me, not with some dorky Finsweet tomato farmer. This changed everything. If we found his suitcase, we wouldn't have to work another day in our entire life. We could buy all the rally parts for the Satsuma. We could rebuild the engine so it doesn't break down on us. We could do anything we wanted with no consequences. No, we can't do that. That would be taking away his only reason to live. But at the same time, I can't resist the thought of pretty much infinite money. I need to do what's right in this situation. I stole the suitcase, baby! We got money for a lifetime. I ordered new tires. Hell, I ordered every damn car part in the catalog. Oh man, I can't wait to get my new wheels today. Shit. What do I do? Do I use this conveniently placed sledgehammer to break the window and run? Or do I run up and punch a drunk, axe-wielding man? I really hope this doesn't backfire. I gotta hide the evidence quickly. Of course, what better place to hide the evidence than in the lake? Let's get back to the grind, shall we? With this new influx of money, I decided that there was no better time than now to rebuild the entire engine. So, I got to work on that. Fleetari called me while I was working on it and said that my tires were done. I went and picked them up, but I had a strange feeling about the drunk man. I had this feeling that he was no longer in the lake. I went to the bridge to sit and ponder. But that's when I saw something that I probably can't show on YouTube. Wow, I don't know how to feel about all this. We took this man who was struggling with his alcohol addiction and with his marriage. We made him our friend. We became the helping hand he could grab onto whenever he needed to. And we took that relationship and we just threw it away. Like it didn't matter to us. A couple hours ago, we were picking him up from the pub. And now he's gone forever. In the blink of an eye, my world flipped upside down. There's nothing I could do to fix it, so I just continue with my life, full of regret instead of happiness, wondering what would have happened had I not thrown away this man's only source of happiness. I am so sorry, Mr. Alcohol. I wish you were still here. I regret everything that I've done. On day 15, while heading to Fleetari's to buy all the new engine parts, I stopped by Mr. Alcohol's house to remember what once was. There was a note axed in his door that read, "I am sorry. I lost everything. It was all my fault. Everyone is better off this way." From that moment on, I decided to put all of this behind me and to live in the present and not the past. I went and bought all of the new parts for the engine, and then I went to Tamos to pay for my post order, which was 57,129 marks. Jesus, dude. Somehow, I fit all of this into my van. Again. Somehow. When I got home, I laid out all of my new parts and then I did an unboxing. Wow, that is a lot of stuff. I spent the rest of day 15 rebuilding the engine. Nothing too exciting. On day 16, I put the rebuilt engine along with the new racing carburetors into the car and started it up. I then put on lots of new accessories and it was looking fucking ugly, but in a good way. I don't know how else to describe it. I then went for a test drive and it was even faster. I went to Fleetari's again and ordered a roll cage installation as well as a custom paint job which was exclusively for the rally race. The next day, Fleetari had finished my car. I pulled up to his shop and she was looking absolutely stunning. I took the Satsuma to Tamos where I refueled and bought a fire extinguisher, which is one of the 4 requirements for the rally race. While attempting to install it, I proceeded to get launched 50 feet in the air. Peak realism. I then made my way home where I painted the fender flares, rear spoiler, and roll cage black, put on the Satsuma GT grille, and installed the rally suspension kit. I had some problems with removing the front struts, so after a bit of googling, I realized that you have to take out the steering rods before you can remove the struts. Great, now I have to realign my wheels again. It's going to be worth it though, trust me. The next day, I finished installing all the rally parts on the Satsuma, and then I went for a practice run around the dirt road. That went as well as you'd expect. Luckily, such a thing as quitting without saving exists. With all of this work, time, sacrifice, and money spent, this was it. This was the moment that all led up to. This was the Periyarvin Suvi Sprint. The Periyarvin Suvi Sprint, or the Periyarvi Summer Sprint, is a rally sprint race that takes place every weekend during summer. The sprint consists of 2 stages, the Saturday stage and the Sunday stage. The Saturday stage starts in Periyarvi and takes you all the way to Rikipoja. The Sunday stage is the opposite, starting in Rikipoja and ending in Periyarvi. Both stages are 9.2 kilometers long. There are 2 cups in the sprint, the Junior Cup and the Amateur Cup. The Junior Cup is where you start. It consists of a 500 mark entry fee, slower competition, and a smaller trophy and prize pool. The Amateur Cup consists of a 1,000 mark entry fee, faster competition, and a bigger trophy and prize pool. In order to progress to the Amateur Cup, you need to obtain 10 points in the Junior class. One win in the Junior Cup grants you 6 points, so if you win the Junior Cup twice, you can then progress to the Amateur Cup. Our goal is to ultimately win the Amateur Cup, so with all this explaining out of the way, let's get into the race itself.
One, go!
And just like that, we had won our first Suvi sprint. To celebrate our well-deserved victory, I went home and showed my trophy to Uncle, but he didn't seem to give a fuck. I then grilled some sausages and got insanely drunk. A true Finnish celebration if you ask me. On day 22, I ordered a new computer and I went to Flitarvis to repair some dents in my car and to paint the car metallic green. And the next day, he had finished the job and my car was looking absolutely stunning yet again. On day 25, I picked up my new computer at Tamos and I played a bit of Joulupuken, which was difficult but fun at the same time. Now that we are officially halfway through this challenge, let's take a step back and look at what we've done so far and what we still have to do. So far, we have built and inspected the Satsuma, stupidly stolen the suitcase, and won the Junior Rally Cup one time. And what we still have left to do is to win the Amateur Rally Cup and to settle down and become a father. Let's get through these next 25 days as fast as we did the first 25. On day 27, it was time for the rally again. Don't worry, I'm not going to put you through a 3-minute montage. Even after a little hiccup in the first stage, I was still dominating yet again. The second stage was no different, and when I finished, I had won by over a minute. With these 2 junior class wins under my belt, this meant that next weekend, I could participate in the Amateur Rally Cup. On day 29, I was pretty bored, so I took that time to install the amplifier and the subwoofers, and then I jammed out to some tunes. I also took some cooked fish to grandma, which, unlike last time, it actually went as planned. And on day 31, I ordered some new tires and sucked some shit out of some holes. Pause. 2 days later, I made the guy in the green car do a barrel roll, and then I picked up my new tires. That's literally all that happened on day 33. I don't know why I'm showing this. On day 34, it was time for the Amateur Rally Cup. This was going to be so much more difficult. We're racing with the big boys now. The Max Verstappens and Lewis Hamiltons of the Perry RV Suvi Sprint. We had to take this seriously. If we fail now, then what would all of that work and sacrifice be for? Will we win? Would we even be in the top 3? Yeah, I completely dominated and won again. When I got my trophy, I pissed in it and set it up nicely in my living room. Fucking beautiful. On day 36, I removed the roll cage from my car, and on day 37, I put on some leopard seat and steering wheel covers and put on my new tires. My car was now looking like a John Deere tractor, and I loved it. On day 38, with this new boost in confidence, I went to go race against the other Amos boys. After a bit of struggle getting onto the highway, we finally got to racing where he absolutely destroyed me. I'm sure I could have beat him, but I didn't want this little old car to explode on me. I'm sure. Then, he proceeded to fucking kill himself by ramming into the back of a truck. At least that's what I think happened. I couldn't really see. Somehow, his girlfriend was still alive, so I kidnapped her, had a couple beers with her, and then I went to sleep. When I woke up, she left me a note saying that I was a nice guy. Chat, is this Riz? Okay, I'm sorry, I won't say that again. On day 41, while heading up to town, I saw her standing outside Tamo's. I went to pick her up for a date, but she told me that I smelled like shit. So I went home and took a shower, and I came back. She didn't complain this time. We went to the ski slopes where she insisted that I get absolutely shit-faced. I drank so much that I blacked out. Man, dating in Finland is such a weird thing. 2 days later, I dumped some shit in the inspection shop for absolutely no reason, and then I went grocery shopping. But then, the unthinkable happened. It was over just as soon as it started.